Alright, we are back with another trade tree. Now, people really enjoyed the Marlins fire sale video that I did a few months ago, so I decided to look into doing another one, and I ended up fixating on the 2014-15-ish Philadelphia Phillies. Now, in my research for that video, I wound up finding a trade that needed its own video. It was too big to do as part of a several trade video, so this is the Cole Hamels trade tree. Now, by 2015, the Phillies' contending team from the past decade had been mostly dismantled. Roy Halladay and Cliff Lee had retired, Jimmy Rollins had been traded, and Ryan Howard and Chase Utley were shells of their former selves. But the youngest member of that core, Cole Hamels, was still in his prime. The 2008 World Series MVP was in his age 31 season and still putting up great numbers. As the team began to bottom out, Hamels was getting paid very well. He was in the third year of his six-year, $144 million contract. And with the team's lackluster farm system, rumors had swirled for over a year as teams asked about acquiring Hamels. Now, if the Phillies wanted to move on from Hamels at all, it had to be at the 2015 deadline, as his 10-5 no-trade rights would take effect by the end of the year. Several teams with playoff aspirations expressed interest. Now, in his final start before the deadline, in what many expected to be his final start as a Philly, Hamels entered baseball royalty again, throwing a no-hitter against the Cubs at Wrigley Field, walking just two batters on 129 pitches. 5 days later, it was official, and there was a trade in place to send Hamels to the Texas Rangers. So here's the trade. The Phillies got MLB starter Matt Harrison and 5 prospects, pitchers Jake Thompson, Jared Eichhoff, and Alec Asher, outfielder Nick Williams, and catcher Jorge Alfaro. And the Rangers got Hamels and reliever Jake Diekman. Now on the Phillies side, Harrison was included in the trade mostly to make the money work. He was in the third year of an expensive 5-year contract, and he was dealing with chronic back injuries, limiting him to just 3 starts for Texas that year. Just prior to the trade, the Rangers shut him down for the rest of the season. So he sat for the rest of 2015 and all of 2016. With just a year remaining on his contract, that November the Phillies released him, and he unfortunately never played pro ball again. Jake Thompson entered 2016 as the Phillies' number 3 prospect, and he was called up to the majors in August of that year, and he made 30 appearances over the next 3 seasons, and unfortunately he didn't really amount to all that much. His first 2 years he was mostly starting, and in 2018 he pitched exclusively out of the bullpen. In August of 2018, Thompson was designated for assignment and then traded to the Brewers for cash. Across over 110 major league innings, Thompson had a 7-8 record, 2 saves, an 87 ERA+, and .2 WAR. Jared Eichhoff was the least notable prospect at the time of the trade, but he was also the closest to MLB action, so he was called up to the majors to join the Phillies' rotation just a few weeks after the trade in August of 2015. And he looked pretty good. He posted a 1.46 ERA and 49 strikeouts across 8 starts. Eichhoff made the rotation to start 2016, and he had a solid full season. He started 33 games, which was third most in the NL. He threw almost 200 innings, and he had a 1.15 ERA plus and a 1.16 WHIP. In 2017, Eichhoff regressed, with his ERA plus dropping to 91 and his WHIP rising to 1.5. Arm and hand issues prematurely ended his season, and those injuries continued into the next 2 seasons. Eichhoff made just 15 appearances across 2018 and 19, and when healthy enough to pitch, he struggled with a 77 ERA plus. Following the 2019 season, the Phillies released him. In parts of 5 seasons, Eichhoff put up 5.9 WAR as a Philly. Alec Asher reached the majors about a month after the trade, making his debut as a starter in late August. And he struggled a lot. He put up a 43 ERA+, a WHIP near 1.8, and an 0-6 record in his 7 starts that season. He came back in 2016 and he was much improved. He dropped his WHIP below 1 across 5 starts. But in June, he tested positive for a performance-enhancing drug, and he was suspended for the rest of the season. Before the 2017 season, he was traded to Baltimore for cash. In his 12 starts for the Phillies, Asher put up minus .4 WAR. Williams reached the majors in June of 2017, and he spent parts of the next 3 seasons with the Phillies. In 290 games, he put up a decent 93 OPS+, but he got steadily worse each season. After 67 bad games in 2019 in which he was below replacement on both sides of the ball, Williams was placed on waivers and claimed by the Reds. He put up minus 1.4 WAR for the Phillies. Jorge Alfaro reached the majors in September of 2016 and got into about a season's worth of games over the next 3 years. In 143 games, he slashed .270, .327, .422 for a 99 OPS+ and 2 WAR. Following the 2018 season, Alfaro was packaged with prospects Will Stewart and Sixto Sanchez and traded to the Marlins for all-star catcher JT Realmuto. Now, I talked about Realmuto more in depth in my Marlins fire sale video, but in his 5.5 years with the Phillies, he's been one of the best catchers in the game. As of the 2024 All-Star break, Realmuto has played in 651 games for the Phillies, putting up a 113 OPS+ and 20.8 WAR. He's won 2 Gold Gloves, 2 Silver Sluggers, made 2 All-Star games, and received MVP votes twice, and he's still under contract for another year and a half. that's a total of 27.1 WAR in return for Hamels for Philly. Now that's obviously inflated due to JT Realmuto. Alfaro was not the only piece going back to the Marlins. In fact, he probably wasn't the main piece. That was probably Sixto Sanchez. So overall, the return for 3.5 years of control for an ace is underwhelming, though it's a nice consolation prize to recover and get JT Realmuto. Now on the Rangers side, we'll start with Diekman. He joined the Rangers bullpen for the end of 2015. He performed really well. He had a whip under 1 and an ERA plus over 200 in 21 innings. And he was lights out in the playoffs. In 6 innings, he gave up just 2 hits, 1 run, and no walks, as Texas unfortunately fell to the Blue Jays in 5 games. Diekman stayed in the bullpen the next 2.5 years, and he was a really effective middle reliever. In 2016, he made 66 appearances, putting up a 1.17 whip and 10 Ks per 9. He missed most of 2017 recovering from surgery, but made 11 solid appearances at the end of the year. In his final year before free agency, 2018, Diekman continued to perform with a 1.29 ERA plus in 39 innings. Now at the deadline, Texas was out of the playoff picture, so they traded Diekman. Across 150 appearances for the Rangers, Diekman had a 5-3 record, a 1.45 ERA plus, and put up 3.2 WAR. Diekman was traded to the Diamondbacks for pitching prospect Wei-Che Wong and a player to be named later, which ended up being pitching prospect Joshua Javier. Wong made his MLB debut for the Rangers in April of 2019. He made 4 not-so-good appearances, putting up a FIP over 5, a WHIP over 2, and minus .1 WAR, and after the season he was released. And Javier never reached the majors, and he left the organization in free agency after 2023. But back to the centerpiece of our trade, Cole Hamels slotted into the Rangers rotation, and he made an impact right away. In the final 2 months of 2015, he made 8 starts and went 7-1 with a 1.16 ERA+. On the final day of the season, the Rangers clinched the AL West title as Hamels threw a complete game to take down the Angels. In the playoffs, Hamels started games 2 and 5 of the ALDS against Toronto, and he was elite. But in his final inning in Game 5, the 7th inning, the first 3 Blue Jays reached on errors. Hamels was pulled, the Blue Jays scored 4 runs, and the Rangers were eliminated. Hamels started for Texas on opening day in 2016, and he had a great year. He threw over 200 innings, he put up a 15-5 record, and a 1.37 ERA+, and he made the All-Star game. He also reached a massive career milestone, striking out his 2,000th batter in June. Hamels missed a couple months in 2017 with an oblique strain. In his 24 starts when healthy, he was still solid with an 11-6 record and a 1.15 ERA+. Hamels started again on opening day in 2018, the last year of his contract. And he finally started to show signs of decline, putting up a 5-9 record and a league average 1.01 ERA+ across 20 starts. Now, like with Diekman, the Rangers decided to trade Hamels at the deadline. Across his 88 starts with Texas, he had a 38-21 record, a 1.18 ERA+, and 11.1 WAR. Hamels was traded to the Cubs for pitching prospect Raleigh Lacy, pitcher Eddie Butler, and a player to be named later, which ended up being infield-outfield prospect Alexander Ovalles. Lacy spent the rest of the year with the Rangers' High A affiliate. After the season, Lacy was traded in a 3-team deal to Tampa Bay, in a deal that also included Oakland. Texas also gave up outfielder Jurickson Profar and received 4 prospects, outfielder Eli White and pitchers Kyle Bird, Yoel Espinal, and Brock Burke. White reached the majors in September of 2020, and he played 130 games with the Rangers over the next few seasons. He dealt with some injury issues in that time, and while healthy, he was mostly just a good outfield glove and arm. He was not good at the plate. He slashed 185, 260, 296 for 55 OPS+, but he still managed to put up .3 WAR. And following the 2022 season, White was traded to the Braves for cash. Bird made the Rangers bullpen out of camp in 2019, but he wound up spending most of the year in the minors. In his 12 major league appearances, he was bad. He had a FIP over 10 and a WHIP over 2. He was worth minus .1 WAR. He then spent 2020 off the major league roster and not playing because the minor leagues were canceled, and then left as a free agent following the season. Yoel Espinal spent 2019 in the Rangers system and then left as a free agent as well. Brock Burke reached the majors in August of 2019, and he had a rough rookie season. He made 6 starts, but he was below replacement. He then missed 2020 recovering from shoulder surgery and spent 2021 in the minors. Burke made the 2022 team, earning a bullpen role in camp, and he broke out. He threw more than 80 innings with an ERA under 2. He was named the team's Rookie of the Year by local sports journalists. Now, 2023 was not as good, as his ERA plus dropped to league average, and he put up just .1 WAR in 53 appearances. He pitched twice in the playoffs and got blown up both times, combining for 4 hits and 5 runs in less than an inning. But hey, he got a ring. Now, 2024 was worse to start for Burke, as after just 5 rough appearances, he punched a wall in anger and fractured his non-throwing hand. He returned in June and made another 5 not-so-great appearances before being sent to the minors. Now, as of the 2024 All-Star break, through 121 career Major League appearances, Burke has a 12-10 record, a 1.10 ERA+, and has been worth 1.9 WAR. Now, since I wrote and recorded all this, this is me coming in from the future. Brock Burke was placed on waivers last week, August 13th, and claimed by the LA Angels. So I do refer to Burke later in this video as active with the Rangers. That's no longer true. Eddie Butler made 22 appearances out of the Texas bullpen the rest of the 2018 season. And he was pretty bad. He pitched to a FIP over 7 and an ERA plus of 74, worth minus .3 WAR. Following the end of the 2018 season, Butler left as a free agent. Now, Ovalle spent the next couple years in the minors for Texas, and then after the 2020 season, he was traded. Ovalle was traded alongside fellow prospects Osleivis Basabe and Heriberto Hernandez to the Rays for corner infielder Nathaniel Lowe, first base prospect Jake Gunther, and a player to be named later, outfield prospect Carl Chester. Now, Gunther and Chester didn't reach the majors for Texas, and they were both released in 2022. But Nathaniel Lowe took over as the Rangers' starting first baseman, and he's been there for the last 3.5 years. He's been a model of consistency. From 2021 to 2023, he played in 157 or more games each season, with above-average offense. He won the Silver Slugger in 2022 and the Gold Glove in 2023. While his playoff performance in 2023 wasn't stellar, he still earned himself a World Series ring. Across his 550 regular season games in Texas, Lowe has put up a 120 OPS plus and 9.2 WAR, and he's under team control for another 2.5 years. So altogether, the Rangers have 25.2 WAR coming to them in this trade tree so far. Plus, they still have control over Burke and Lowe. So while the two teams are pretty close on WAR here, they're only a couple WAR apart, I lean towards Texas on this one. While they didn't really contend that much with Hamels, he was really good for them. He gave them 3 really solid years. And they eventually turned him into an important piece who helped them win a title, Nathaniel Lowe. Now, more importantly, this trade didn't help the Phillies kick off a rebuild like they thought it would. They didn't reach the playoffs again until 2022, which was 7 years after this trade. And what got them there was a couple top 10 draft picks, Aaron Nola and Alec Boehm, and some quality free agent signings such as Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, and Zach Wheeler. Of their 2022 NL pennant team, only JT Realmuto can be tied back to this trade, and even then it's only marginally. So again, Texas wins this trade. Philly did relatively okay. It was bad at first, they managed to salvage it. That's generally my thoughts on this. So if you made it this far, leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell so you never miss an upload. I'm going to be trying to get a fire sale breakdown or a trade tree up, 1 or 2 a month. My schedule's a little bit busier now than it was in the spring. But I do want to keep getting these videos out because I know people really enjoy them.